What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, October 23rd, 2023, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 1:14 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and I wanted to just update you on the situation with Israel and Hamas and the possibility of World War III. So, right now, guys, we have a U.S. presidential doomsday plane flying over the Midwest somewhere with its flight tracker turned off. Okay. So, normally these planes fly with flight trackers in order for other planes to be able to identify them so they don't have a midair collision. Okay. So, imagine like if you were driving your car at night with no headlights down the highway, obviously the chances of somebody slamming into you by accident are much higher than if you have your headlights on. So these flight trackers are like headlights for cars. They alert all the other planes in the area that you're there, okay? And if you have your tracker off, it's easy to collide midair because planes travel at 500 miles an hour. So this is extremely unusual. I cannot emphasize to you how unusual it is for a US presidential doomsday plane to be flying without a transponder on or a tracker, flight tracker, whatever you want to call it. Basically, this thing is invisible to flight radar now, okay, or any kind of flight trackers. So this is very concerning, guys. There's very few scenarios where a doomsday plane would turn its transponder off, okay? And one of those scenarios is escalating tensions in the world, okay? These planes are used by the president and the defense secretary to command the entire U.S. nuclear arsenal and the entire U.S. military in the event of World War III or a nuclear war or some kind of cataclysmic event. Okay, so very, very concerning, guys. Okay, so I want to just show you some flight paths of this doomsday plane and prove to you that it is flying right now with its transponder off. So this is from just about an hour ago. And here you can see an E-6 Mercury. This is a nuclear war command and control plane taking off from Patuxent River. That's their East Coast home base. At the same time as this doomsday plane and an aerial refueler take off from Ohio and Indiana, and then also a nuke sniffer plane took off at the same time. And so here you can clearly see the doomsday plane and the aerial refueler over central Illinois. Okay, you can see these two planes right here. Let me zoom in case there's any doubt. Okay, you can see the thicker one, the one with the thicker wings is the doomsday plane, and the one in front of it is the aerial refueler. So the doomsday plane took off from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio. And Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is one of the most secretive bases in the country. Okay, it's almost like Area 51. Many people believe that the Roswell UFO was taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So this is the doomsday plane that I showed you guys yesterday. There were two doomsday planes in the air yesterday, and one of them landed in Wright-Patterson. Well, this is the one that landed in Wright-Patterson, okay? And here in this shot, you can see that this doomsday plane disappeared from the flight tracker, okay? It turned its transponder off somewhere near Peoria, Illinois, okay? It just totally went dark. All right, so I'll go back again. Okay, here you can see in this shot, both of them appearing on the flight tracker, and then just 5 minutes later disappeared. Okay, and now all you can see in this shot is the aerial refueler. So this is very, very concerning, guys. And this is what the situation looks like now. Okay, you can see that one E-6, the nuclear war command and control plane with the call sign Tor 36, is flying over Missouri right now, so it's still airborne. And the nuke sniffer plane went from Arkansas to Offutt Air Base. It appears to have landed in Offutt Air Base. And then here's the aerial refueler. but there's no Doomsday plane anywhere to be found. Okay, you can't find that Doomsday plane anywhere. Okay, this is live right now as of 1:19 p.m. Eastern time. And I want to just remind you what the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in an official press release 2 days ago over the weekend on Saturday night, late Saturday night. This release showed up on the DoD website, and basically it says that the Dwight Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group is going to be falling under the Central Command Area of Responsibility, which is the second carrier strike group that's going to the Mediterranean. And it also says that air defenses are going to be put into the Middle East, especially the THAAD and Patriot systems. Now, the THAAD system is specifically designed for intercepting ballistic missiles. Okay, that's what we have in South Korea to protect South Korea from North Korean ballistic missiles. So for them to put THAAD in the Middle East means that they're concerned about Iranian ballistic missiles, okay? Because other than that, the Patriot missiles and the Iron Dome can take out everything, okay? But the THAAD system is specifically designed for taking out high speed ballistic missiles. Now, we also have an Aegis warship in the Middle East as well, the USS Carney. Okay, the Aegis warship can also shoot down ballistic missiles. Okay, with the SM-3 interceptors, which are faster and have a longer range than the Patriot missiles. Okay, so we now have two missile defenses in the Middle East specifically designed for intercepting ballistic missiles. And the only country in the Middle East that has ballistic missiles that would threaten Israel with them is Iran. Okay, so we have the THAAD and we have the Aegis. And also, he put a large number of forces on ready to deploy orders. Okay, so that is very, very concerning. And I've gotten several emails from subscribers telling me that they knew someone or they know someone in the Navy and they've gotten orders to deploy or to prepare to deploy, and that they're going to be going dark for a while, meaning that they're not going to be able to call or email their loved ones because they have to maintain a communication silence. So this way, any potential enemy can't eavesdrop. So very concerning situation, guys. Okay, and this week we have NATO conducting nuclear war exercises. What you're looking at here is an exercise for the delivery of tactical nuclear weapons. Here we have F-15E and F-16 fighter jets, and these are fighter jets that NATO would use in a nuclear war with Russia. They would load these F-15E Strike Eagles and F-16s with the B-61 nuclear bombs that NATO has in their stockpiles, and they would fly them into Russia and drop them on specific targets. And the B-61s have a guidance kit, so they're not just dummy gravity bombs. They can actually be guided to a target, okay? And they have a yield of up to almost half a megaton, so they're very potent, all right? And what's interesting is that we recently moved 24 F-15E Strike Eagles to the Middle East, okay, about a week ago, all right? The F-15E Strike Eagle has a primary mission in the U.S. Air Force of nuclear weapons delivery. That's its main mission right now, okay? It's not like an F-16 or an F-35 where it's a multi-role fighter. The F-15E is primarily used now for nuclear weapons delivery. So for them to move 24 F-15Es to the Middle East is very concerning. And then also we have that Ohio class sub that mysteriously departed from Scotland 5 days ago on the 18th. We don't know where it's going to be going, but the USS Florida did depart from Scotland 5 days ago, okay, and it could be going to the Middle East. Now, the USS Florida has 154 Tomahawk missiles that are nuclear tipped, okay, so if they wanted to carry out a decapitation strike on Iran, they could use that USS Florida with the 154 nuclear tipped Tomahawks, and then they could use those F-15E Strike Eagles. Okay. And between those assets, you would have 200 nuclear warheads that could be delivered roughly over Iran. Okay. If Iran decides to do anything crazy. So the situation is very, very serious right now. And this morning, we had a high priority reconnaissance plane flying through the Baltics and along the Finnish Russian border. This is an RC 135 combat scent plane, and the U.S. Air Force only has two of these. And so for them to send one of these somewhere means that there's something serious enough that they have to send this thing out there, because not only that they only have two of them, but these planes report directly to the president and the Joint Chiefs. So whatever intelligence they collect goes directly to the president and his top generals. Okay. So only two of them, plus it's directly reporting to the president and the top generals. So if they deploy this thing to the Baltics and Finland, like you see here, that means that they're concerned about something happening here. Okay. So my concern is that at the same time as this war in the Middle East kicks off, I think Russia is going to use that to their advantage, and they might go after the Baltics. They might go after Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. They may go after the Suwalki Gap so they can create a land bridge from Belarus to Kaliningrad. There's all different kinds of possibilities here, but that's what I'm really concerned about, is a multi-front war opening up right now, okay, in Eastern Europe and in the Middle East and in the Korean Peninsula. I'm not so worried about China just yet. I think China's just hanging back and watching and doing nothing, because right now all these wars around the world are good for China, because countries like Russia have to go to them to buy equipment, because Russia's run out of resources for war. So they've been going to China to buy stuff, and also to do business, economic benefits for China, So I think China's just hanging back right now. They're not going to go after Taiwan just yet. I think they're going to wait until the US and Russia nuke each other. And that's when China is going to go in. And I think they're going to take a large part of Russia, especially Siberia, because they need the land and the resources. And then once they do that, then they could go after like Australia and the South China Sea and the entire Pacific. Okay. But I think for now, China's just going to hang back and watch and wait for the rest of the world to destroy themselves. And then they're going to be quietly preparing in the background while everybody's destroying themselves, fighting wars all over the place. And then, potentially a nuclear war between Russia and the US. China does not want to get involved in that. Okay. It's not good for them. They'd rather just sit back and let us nuke each other, and then they would come out on top from that. Okay. So I want to update you with some of the latest information coming out of Israel. Before I do that, though, I want to just quickly mention that the president of Turkey signed Sweden's accession into NATO, and he sent it to the Turkish parliament for ratification. Okay. So now it's just Hungary that's standing in the way of Sweden officially becoming a member of NATO. We have the U.S. Customs and Border Protection warning that Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Islamic Jihad are exploiting the porous border. And we have the deputy commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Avi Fadavi, warning the West and Israel that if necessary, we will fire missiles directly at Haifa. Okay, Haifa is in northern Israel. Okay, so the deputy commander of the IRGC, that's like the Iranian army basically, threatening to fire ballistic missiles at Israel. Okay, so, I mean, we've heard so many threats coming from Iran, just nonstop threats. Okay, so we have to take that seriously. And we have some information that a Hamas leader and a top Iranian official held talks last night. Apparently, Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian spoke on the phone with Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad boss Ziad al-Nakala to discuss stopping what he described as Israel's brutal crimes in Gaza. Okay, so we have the Iranian foreign minister, the leader of Hamas, and the leader of Islamic Jihad all talking on the phone last night. Okay, that's not good. The New York Times has apologized for relying on Hamas's reports on the hospital explosion in Gaza, which we now know turned out to be not what everybody thought initially. Hamas has warned that a ground invasion would reduce the likelihood of hostages being released. And this is coming from an Israeli official. And this update is being sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, I have a special deal for you that My Patriot Supply hooked me up with, and it's a 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply and their 2-week emergency food supply. So to get the deal, you have to use the link in the description below this video, which is preparewith NYPrepper.com, and you'll get 25% off the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply and 2-week emergency food supply. Now, these food supplies are freeze dried, so they have a 25-year shelf life if stored in the proper conditions. They come in rugged, water resistant buckets. The 3-month emergency food supply comes in 6 water resistant buckets, so they don't take up a lot of room. And you have 3 months worth of food, which should cover you for almost any scenario. There's a variety of different food in this 3-month supply and also in the 2-week supply. As you can see here, rice pudding, mac and cheese, creamy stroganoff, cheesy broccoli soup, chili mac, spaghetti. I mean, just a ton of different food here. So you're going to get a good variety, and it's also healthy, and there's no MSG. So get prepared, guys. We're living in unprecedented times. World War III could happen at any moment. And the 2-week emergency food supply is also great for people that like to go camping. You can get one of these buckets and throw it in your vehicle. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the 2-week and the 3-month emergency food supply from My Patriot Supply, 25-year shelf life. They also have a general store. If you click on their logo here, it'll take you to their general store, which has all kinds of prepping and survival items. So check them out, guys. I'll leave a link in the description below this video. And Germany's counterterrorism and special ops unit, the GSG-9, landed in Cyprus, and apparently they're stationed there along with American, Italian, Dutch, and British special ops. We have Israeli media reporting that Israel has agreed to the U.S. request to delay ground entry into the Gaza Strip until more American forces are sent to the area. Okay, so I think that's why this ground invasion hasn't started yet. Okay, I think Israel is waiting for American forces to show up into the region. Okay, there's not enough American forces right now. They're waiting for that second aircraft carrier strike group to show up. It should be there any hour now. It might already be there. Maybe they're waiting for some other assets, maybe nuclear assets. Okay, but it sounds like the U.S. is increasingly concerned about a massive escalation, and they want to make sure they have everything in place before Israel invades Gaza, okay? Because they know as soon as that happens, there could be missile launches from Iran, there could be attacks from Hezbollah, from Lebanon, okay? There could be also attacks from Syria and Iraq. We saw all those volunteers that were shuttled down to the Israeli border through Syria and Iraq, okay? So the U.S. wants to get everything into position before Israel makes their move, okay? We have some information coming from an Israeli army spokesman, and apparently there were a limited number of special ops troops that entered Gaza last night to search for hostages and conduct reconnaissance. The White House said that we are communicating with Israel about its strategic and precautionary plans before a major operation in Gaza. Okay, so they're preparing, guys, for a contingency. They're preparing for a worst case scenario, a total escalation. Israel's defense minister Yoav Gallant said outside of Gaza today that we are thoroughly preparing for the next stage. This will be a deadly attack and an integrated one in the air, at sea, and on land. Okay, so strong words there from the defense minister. This will be a deadly attack and an integrated one with air, sea, and land assets involved. The U.S. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said U.S. security aid continues to flow to Israel on a daily basis, and we continue to strengthen our naval deployment in the region in order to send a strong deterrent signal to any party that may wish to expand the conflict. Now, I want to just read to you guys what Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin said yesterday. In case you missed my update yesterday, I want to just remind you what they said. Okay, this was yesterday on the Sunday morning talk shows. So Anthony Blinken said, "This is not what we want, not what we're looking for. We don't want escalation. We don't want to see our forces or our personnel come under fire. But if that happens, we're ready for it." And then Lloyd Austin said, "What we're seeing is a prospect of a significant escalation of attacks on our troops and our people throughout the region. We're going to do what's necessary to make sure that our troops are in position and they are protected, that we have the ability to respond. We won't hesitate to take the appropriate action if any group or any country is looking to widen this conflict and take advantage of this very unfortunate situation that we see. Our advice is don't. We maintain the right to defend ourselves, and we won't hesitate to take the appropriate action." Okay, so strong words there from Lloyd Austin, but clearly they're very concerned about escalation, as anybody with a brain would be able to see that that's a very real possibility. And we have Richard Blumenthal, the senator from Connecticut, saying that apparently Iran gave the green light to Hamas to launch their surprise attack against southern Israel on October the 7th. And he warned Iran against giving the same green light to Hezbollah. Okay, so Richard Blumenthal, he's a senior senator. Okay, and I think he's on the Foreign Affairs Committee, or the he's on the Armed Services Committee, I think. But he's warning Iran against giving Hezbollah the same green light that they gave to Hamas. Coalition forces shot down 3 suicide drones near an American base in Al Tanf within the border triangle of Syria, Iraq, and Jordan. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry said that there was contact between the foreign ministers of Egypt and Iran to discuss the situation in Gaza, according to Sky News Arabia. Okay, so the Egyptian foreign minister and the Iranian foreign minister met and spoke. Okay, and the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arrived in the capital of Iran, Tehran. Very interesting timing for him to suddenly go to Iran now. It's definitely not a coincidence. Russia is definitely preparing for an escalation as much as the U.S. is preparing for an escalation. Putin already said that he put MiG-31 fighter jets on combat duty in the Black Sea with Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, which would theoretically be able to reach the Mediterranean Sea from the Black Sea. So they could literally target American warships in the Eastern Mediterranean from the Black Sea. The Israeli president, Herzog, showed Sky News documents complete with diagrams that apparently are official Al Qaeda material showing how to build a chemical weapon with cyanide, and he says that Hamas members had possession of this material. And he said that Hamas is planning to build these chemical weapons, or maybe they've already built them and they might even use them in some type of an attack on Israel. Okay, so that's another thing we have to be concerned with, is a chemical weapons attack against Israel, or maybe even here in the West. The Russian Ministry of Defense informed senior officials in Lebanon that if Hezbollah decides to start a war on the southern front, Israel will adopt a policy of scorched earth and destroy Lebanon, destruction that will not be limited to Hezbollah's areas of influence only. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, met with the Greek Prime Minister, Mitsotakis, and the Prime Minister of Greece said, "We support Israel." And Netanyahu said, "We must all unite against Hamas, which is actually ISIS." And yesterday, Biden spoke by phone with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, President Emmanuel Macron of France, Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, and the Prime Minister of the UK, Rishi Sunak. And they were talking about the war in the Middle East and the situation with Israel and Hamas. The Israeli Defense Forces struck a Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure in Lebanon, including a military compound and an observation post. Apparently, 4 Hezbollah terror cells were struck by Israeli airstrikes. And the Hezbollah chief Nasrallah said, "When the hour comes, the end of the enemy will be in a minute." So strong words there from the chief of Hezbollah. Apparently, a missile fired from Lebanon landed in the Kiryat Shimona settlement in northern Israel. And if you remember one of my recent updates, they just evacuated that settlement. Okay, so good timing on Israel to evacuate that settlement. Apparently, Hezbollah attacked an Israeli military facility today, and this was the Ruwasat al-Alam military facility, and apparently they used a Kornet anti-tank guided missile. And it's being reported that after Israel struck the airports in Syria and Aleppo, that apparently Iran is using the Russian airbase now to bring in weapons and equipment into Syria. Okay, so they're using the Russian airbase to funnel in equipment after the Syrian and Aleppo international airports were taken out. China is saying that they are willing to do whatever is conducive to promote dialogue in the Middle East, secure a ceasefire, and restore peace. And apparently, a Patriot missile was activated in Israel yesterday or earlier today. Nobody knows what this Patriot missile was firing at. Potentially one of the Hezbollah rockets. And here we have 3 aerial refuelers that went from the UK to the Eastern Mediterranean, and they shut off their transponder when they got close to Egypt. But this is very, very interesting. 3 of these. And I wanted to just read to you guys something that came through my email. I had 2 subscribers email me, one who says they live close to Travis Air Force Base, which is where all the nuclear war command and control planes fly out of on the West Coast. And this person told me that last night there was a lot of activity there. And also, I had another person email me saying that their daughter lives near Wright-Patterson and that there was a lot of activity at Wright-Patterson yesterday. Okay, so that's pretty much the latest information that I have. I will be doing another update later on this evening, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you can get notified when I post these updates. And I wanted to just thank everybody for supporting me. I just recently hit 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube, which is absolutely amazing. I've been on YouTube for 6 years, guys, okay? And there's been a lot of ups and downs. My channel was stagnant for a while. I even had 2 strikes at one time. I thought I was going to get shut down, and I lost a lot of my motivation. And now I'm over 100,000 subscribers, which is just incredible. So thanks to everybody who has supported me the last few months, last few years. I appreciate everybody. You guys are awesome. And thanks to all the moderators. I appreciate you guys very much. I will be doing some kind of celebration. I was thinking of doing like a celebration live stream later on this week and possibly a giveaway of some kind. So stay tuned for that. But otherwise, I have a lot of cool stuff planned for this channel in the coming months, so stay tuned. And other than that, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.